Chicago, like most big cities, has its fair share of unsolved crime. And in most of these cases, somebody saw or heard something. It could be a suspicious person, a car driving away from the scene, or simply overhearing somebody talking about the case. With your help, we can put these criminals behind bars where they belong. Here in Chicago, we have too many unsolved murders. We need your help. In these cases, the police department is only as strong as the citizens that get involved. Oftentimes, all the detectives need is a tip, a start. Somebody to call in and say, I saw something. Any little information that you know can be the impetus to solve the entire case. On tonight's episode, we'll be featuring the case of 17-year-old Cazreal Hester and 15-year-old Mark Skipper. On February 2nd, 2016, Cazreal and Mark, two best friends who were both star football players, were celebrating Cazreal's 17th birthday. The two friends were sitting in a parked car when multiple gunshots rang out in the night. Both teens were struck several times and died from their injuries. Here's their story.
Cazreal was a dream come true to me. He was very funny, outgoing. Everyone loved him. It was like he was the star of the room.
A lot of spunk, a lot of energy.
Funny, cool, jokey. He was more laid back, you know. He always had this deep voice, and it was more like, you know, like he was sitting lounging or something like that, you know. And he had that voice ever since he can start, you know, so I remember him talking.
My roots is down south, so we take care of everyone, you know. He probably got a little south in him, so he was very overprotective of his other siblings. You know, he made sure no one messed with him, you know, the things the older brother normally does.
When he first picked up a football, Cazreal never put it back down.
When he used to just grab the ball, and I said, I think he's gonna be my football star. So as he got older and older, he continued on with the football. I said, you know what, maybe I need to put him in football. So when he was 7 years old, he played football.
He was striding for the NFL.
That became his motivation in life, that's what something that he wanted to do, go off to college, and then hopefully get drafted into the NFL.
Football was life for the boys. When you seen Cazreal, you seen Skipper.
As I always said, it was like two peas in a pod. Went to school together, played together, hung together.
Ever since he was a baby, he always had to be in my arms. He was a happy baby. He was. He was a very cheerful baby.
He was the playful kid. He was funny. He always tried to keep everybody else up. He thought of other people before himself. If he saw somebody sad, he'd go up and try to cheer him up.
He was so funny from the time he was a baby all the way until now.
He just would light up the room when he walked in and everybody laughed. Always joking around. He was very generous. He was fun to be with.
We were basically twins. Everything he did, I did. We were always connected. If he'd go somewhere, I'd be right there with him.
He loved holidays. He loved the whole family being together. Like I said, he was a fun kid to be with.
Me and Mark used to play Xbox all the time. We used to play Call of Duty, and then we'd always play basketball or we'd play football.
I used to be coach and then a vice president of Hestville Vipers, so I knew Mark and his brother Michael for a while. And then after a while, Stella and I started a relationship, and I kind of took him under my wing and raised him as he was one of my own.
He's always been in sports. He loves sports.
Everything he did with football, he put full effort, which, sad to say, he was better than me. He could have gone places. He had a chance to go play college football and actually try to make the NFL.
His dream was to go pro. That's what he wanted to do. I was one of the proud moms sitting over there, and they were like, was that your kid throw that ball? I'm like, yes.
After the Vipers, they kind of like went their separate ways, you know, going off into high school. But when he went to Morton High School, they rekindled their friendship back all over again.
When Mark started to be a freshman, I think it was, Cash came back.
And they played football together then.
My oldest one started coaching football in high school, so he was coaching both of them.
And he was so excited when he found out he was going to be his, high school football coach.
Brought everybody a little closer together.
For me, it's kind of like a double whammy losing both of them because they were both brothers. We were all really close.
It's hard now, so it's like our world is shattered.
It just seemed like everything was perfect. Nothing could mess it up. And then when that night, it changed everything.
February 2nd, 2016, at approximately 8:30 p.m., we got a phone call of 2 male subjects down in a vehicle. The subjects were later identified as Mark Skipper and Cazreal Hester.
Have you been in an accident? Have you been the victim of discrimination or had your rights violated? Have you been injured? If so, the lawyers at Hale Law would love to talk to you. We offer a free consultation. Call me, Andy Hale, 312-870-6926. 312-870-6926. I look forward to talking with you about your case.
February 2nd, 2016, at approximately 8:30 p.m., we got a phone call of 2 male subjects down in a vehicle. The subjects were later identified as Mark Skipper and Cazreal Hester.
It was that morning right before school. It was around, about 6:50, I would say. He's like, I'm gonna stop smoking. I'm gonna change everything. I'm gonna go back to my old ways, focus on sports more. And what haunts me most is knowing that he was gonna change and that he was about to change, and that happened to be the last words I heard from him.
I know he went out to breakfast with his girlfriend. He was just excited that it was his birthday.
Cazreal Hester and Mark Skipper were actually celebrating Cazreal's 17th birthday.
I had talked to him at 2:30, 3 o'clock that day, because I was at work. And I told him, happy birthday, son, I love you. And he was so excited because he had just got his driver's license that Thursday. And I said, Cash, be careful. I love you and I'll talk to you later.
He was hanging out in the school gym. He was with a couple of football players, I believe. What he texted my mom was that he was going to a basketball game.
We talked, he had a curfew to come home, and then he checked in. He always had to check in. And he checked in, last time I talked to him was at 7:07. He told me he loved me, and he'll be home after the game.
Cazreal and Mark, they were parked inside of his vehicle in the 800 block of Brush Street on the west side of the street. Whoever was in the vehicle with him had to be someone that he was close with.
I knew not hearing from him something was wrong, because he was really good and prompt of calling me and telling me, or if he was going to be late, Mom, I'm going to be a couple minutes late, or...
The first responding officer, who was on routine patrol, driving southbound on Brush Street in the 800 block, that's when he came upon a vehicle with someone's legs protruding out of the driver's side of the vehicle. And at that time, he approached the vehicle and looked inside the vehicle, and he saw 2 male subjects shot. Upon those officers' arrival, they determined that it was a homicide, and they called out the on-call homicide detective, which would be me. Once I arrive on scene, I do a canvass of the scene to see if there's any evidence that's visible, and I spoke with the first responding officers.
I was the first one to get there, and I saw the car, and I already knew what had happened.
And that's when I got the phone call about police was everywhere in front of my house. All they said was that they had a homicide. So that kind of like freaked me out. And I'm like, Lord, please don't let this be my son.
Got a phone call, about 12 o'clock at night. I jumped up and she had a bad feeling. And like I said, it's one of those feelings that hit you in the heart that just don't feel right,
And it was the coroner's office telling me that my son was dead. I was hoping and praying he got the wrong person, but I knew it was him. I just felt it. And all I did was cry, and my husband had his arms around me, holding me up.
My brother called me and he said, something happened to Cash. I'm like, well, what happened? And he was like, Cash got shot. And I'm like, what hospital are you at? He's like, look, man, there's no hospital. You just need to get to the house right now. The police was there, and I'm like, what's going on? He's like, one of them bodies out here.
When they came up to me, I just knew right then and there that that was him.
The whole scene, police cars, everything, still in disbelief.
At that point, I had to tell my other son that his brother got shot, and he's dead.
I was sleeping and my mom yelled, and just out of reaction I ran upstairs to see what it was, and my mom told me that my brother was dead. I thought maybe he was just in the hospital, that she was just over-exaggerating at first. And then as I went downstairs, my phone's getting blown up from a friend they were with. He called me, he said, hey, Michael, Mark and Cash got shot outside Cash's house. And my heart dropped to my stomach.
Oh God, I kept on telling God, why? Why you didn't take me? I gave my life, I gave my years. Why take a little kid that age?
I said, not my Cash. Not my Cash.
I was numb, I didn't know what to do. You can't do nothing.
I just hung up the phone and I started to cry. I couldn't believe two people that I grew up with, they're gone just like that.
When I came to the scene, I was never expecting what happened. I was never expecting that.
That was the night that our lives changed forever.
February 2nd, 2016, at approximately 8:30 p.m., we got a phone call of two male subjects down in the vehicle. The subjects were later identified as Mark Skipper and Cazreal Hester.
The police officer, you know, they're looking at the scene. We see the car, the light flash, and they're moving around.
My mom was up for about 20 minutes on the phone with the coroner's office.
Getting that phone call, it's just a nightmare. It just feels like your whole world is crashing.
And it's still tearing me up to this day, you know, waking up every day, not to hear my son's voice, not to see his smile.
I just changed the whole aspect of life now. He just started life. He hadn't even become a grown man yet.
Of course, we called all the family, and they all came over. Everybody was just in shock, they couldn't believe it.
I've never been so angry, but then again, so destroyed in one moment. That was my brother, that was my twin. That was the kid that I was his role model. Like, he looked up to me.
People heard gunshots and nobody did anything. Nobody made a phone call. Nobody made an attempt. He sat out there for 30 minutes.
Birch Street is a busy thoroughfare, north and southbound traffic. These were young kids doing what young kids do. They were just basically celebrating a birthday, making plans. I spoke with the first responding officer who was on routine patrol when he stopped to assist someone whose legs were hanging outside of the vehicle. And once he exited his vehicle, he approached the vehicle, and that's when he realized there were two males that were shot inside that vehicle.
Every day I walk out my house and I see the flowers and things that's right there. It just tears me up day by day.
I just wish my sister just moved, just get away from there. And I'm like, this is why I got away.
We went out there, I think a week after it happened. When we parked, she got out of the car and went right to the spot. I just let her stand there for a while to get her feelings or emotions out or whatever she had to do. I felt like I seen it happen again, you know, and it's just, I didn't want to be there.
It just didn't seem real.
Saw him at the wake. He looked nothing like himself in the wake. I say he looked completely different. The kid in that casket wasn't my brother.
Walking in that funeral home and seeing your 15-year-old son gone, dead, due to somebody killing him. It's like your whole world just ended that day.
Some days I can't even get out of the bed or go to work or continue with my daily life because my life were all about my kids. They don't talk as much. You can tell that it's affecting them. My other children, it's affecting them in school. My other daughter, she's in track, so she's trying to continue with the sports stuff that her brother would want her to do. It's taking a real toll on us.
Family comes first. I'm just trying to be there for everybody, you know, so it's hard. It's not strong, but I'm getting there.
Losing Mark is just absolute hell in my house because dinner's not the same. Coming home after school is nowhere near the same. Going outside and playing basketball nothing's the same anymore.
When you have a loved one that's not there no more, especially the 15-year-old son, his birthdays don't mean nothing, you know, holidays don't really mean nothing.
It affected everybody, the whole family. We're a very close family. It will never be the same, never.
He was finding his mark, and it's sad to say that he got it shortchanged on it, because we never know what's in store for you every day.
Stella will never be the same. None of us will be the same as we were before. Well, there's something missing. I know it's really rough on her, so I kind of let her be, but it put a toll on the family.
With all the events that are going on that led up to that, how did we miss this? When you hear something that's not normal, you should go find out, at least make an attempt to peek out the window or anything. Because that probably could have saved his life if somebody would have saw him.
My cash is not here anymore. And I miss him so much. Right now, he's not resting because the killer is still out there.
Have you been in an accident? Have you been the victim of discrimination or had your rights violated? Have you been injured? If so, the lawyers at Hale Law would love to talk to you. We offer a free consultation. Call me, Andy Hale, 312-870-6926. 312-870-6926. I look forward to talking with you about your case.
February 2nd, 2016, at approximately 8:30 p.m., we got a phone call of two male subjects down in the vehicle. The subjects were later identified as Mark Skipper and Cazreal Hester.
What they did to my family, what they've done to me, my dad, my mom, they've made us suffer more than I've ever suffered before in my life.
They're not resting now because no one's been caught.
Not just my family, our family needs justice. We didn't just suffer one loss with Cazreal. We suffered two losses with Mark as well because they were together. They were friends as family growing up as children.
I wish whoever did it would come forward and serve justice for these kids, both of them. Nobody should lose a child that young, nobody.
Granted, it won't bring Mark back, but it would bring closure that the person that did it is not on the streets no more to do it again to somebody else. Because if they did it to a 15 and a 17-year-old, who they will do it, they don't care, they'll do it to anybody else.
We are now these victims' eyes, their ears, and more importantly, we're their voice. What's more appalling about this is that this young man died on his date of birth.
I don't expect for them to turn themselves in, but they need to turn themselves. They need to turn themselves in. It'll answer a lot of questions, you know, with us so far as like what actually happened. What led up to that, to him getting shot and dying. And I think that's more of what we want to answer to.
This affects both families dearly because they were young, they didn't deserve this.
Someone out there knows something. Even if it's just the little things, it all helps.
It replays in my head every night about that same incident. I just wish somebody would come in or wish I could have done something.
How would you act if that was your family? You just want justice, you know. I just don't want that person on the street no more.
I miss him and I love him. And I wish it was me up there instead of him. He didn't deserve this. Please, whoever did this, just come forward.
You killed two kids. And now we have to live with the rest of our lives without them. But if there is justice on this case, At least we know that the person that killed 2 kids is where he needs to be, and he's behind bars. And nobody else has to feel that pain that 2 families are feeling.
It was 8:30 at night when this incident occurred. It's still the time of day where people are still going back and forth to work. So if you heard anything, saw anything, please feel free to give us a call to help bring this case to a close.
Because the longer you wait, the worse it's gonna be. And how could you sit there and eat every day, sleep every day, with this on your conscience? I know it's eating you up inside.
But if you got it, tell it. Ain't nothing wrong with telling. Information goes a long way.
If anyone has any information, please come forward and tell the Gary Police Department.
Me and the family would appreciate if they would call, tell them what they know. They don't have to give their name, be anonymous, and give closure and give peace to the family.
So if he killed 2 kids that day, he's out there and he can do it again. And that's gonna be somebody else's kid. I want them to go to the police. I want them to go to the hotline. I want them to go everywhere that they can go to bring justice and closure.
They can contact Detective James Bond, or either they can call the anonymous tip line to let them know who did this and why.
If anyone has any information, please call the Lake County Metro Homicide Unit at 219-755-3852. When you call the unit, you can ask for myself, Detective James Bond, or anyone in the unit, and you may remain anonymous if you so choose.
We'll miss you. He did not deserve it. He was such a good kid.
Everybody's watching. They know who they are.
Make peace with God over it and give this family closure. I don't want nobody else to go through this if they don't have to.
I've never thought I'd have to sit there and look at my brother lay cold in a casket.
We need justice, and we're not gonna stop until we get it.
I will find the justice for him no matter what it takes.
The cases featured on tonight's episode remain unsolved, and we need your help. If you have any information on tonight's episode or any of the cases featured on the show, please give the detectives a call. We need our communities to come together so we can take back our streets and make our neighborhoods safe again.